Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. We're continue to eat, but we're about to get ready to have a wonderful program. And I want to introduce our speaker today, Daniel McKinnon. Daniel's a CEM, and he joined Freeman XP in December of 2014 after 23 years in various positions of show management roles. As Vice President of Global Client Solutions, he is tasked with facilitating the smart, sustainable growth of Freeman XP's international products and programs. Daniel is focused on helping the enterprise customer grow their business and their events by orchestrating Freeman XP's extensive global resources. Previously, Daniel was a Vice President of Events for the Energy and Engineering Group of Access Intelligence. He was charged with developing several events including electric power, clean Gulf, shale safe? Okay. I can't say the next one, and the LDC forums. He is currently on the board of National IAEE and serves as Secretary Treasurer. He previously worked as Vice President of Government Events at 1105 Media, and he served as the Executive Vice President of Messe Frankfurt with various positions, and both with international trade shows and business development efforts in North America. He also served as the Executive Director for International Development for America's Mart Atlanta, where I had the opportunity to work with him. And he is the was the International Marketing Director at Semco, both of those in Atlanta. He graduated from Presbyterian College in Clinton, South Carolina. And I understand that through Richard Maples, this gentleman has been seen in public in photographs, wearing a skirt.
Kilt. the blue hose. Kilt.
The blue hose. Welcome back to Atlanta, Daniel McKinnon.
Thank you, Sue. I have to say it is fantastic to get back here and see my old colleagues and friends and peers. I miss Atlanta very much, although I am in Dallas and was in Houston for a little bit. Atlanta is my home, and I respect all of you a great deal. I respect the city, I respect the facilities, the hotels. Everything about this city is fantastic, and I think you're all very lucky and should be grateful to work here. So that being said, and based on Sue's introduction, I did want to say sometimes trade shows have funny names, and they are hard to pronounce. I don't know why that is, especially when you work for a German company. Then they're like really weird and hard, aren't they? Yes. So they should all be called kitchen and bath or something like that, you know, just, or home builder, you know, something that, okay, that's what it is. So anyways, I have a program today that talks about several different topics. And yes, I am old school and have things written down with a pen on paper. So when we get to the young professionals part of this presentation, I do have some credibility, but I still am old school. So here's my pen, here's my paper. So I will be referring back to it as we discuss different topics. So I am the Secretary Treasurer on the Board of Directors for IAEE and bring to this discussion some of the information that Richard talked about earlier and some of the data that I'm able to access and share with you guys as members of the association and as industry professionals. It is important to keep in mind that data is generated to help you in your jobs, and you should use it when appropriate to advance not only your company's goals, but also your careers. People like and people buy from their people that are selling and people that know what they're talking about. So, you know, learn as much as you can about this stuff, understand it, and pass it along, because another topic that I'm going to speak of later is one of the initiatives that IAEE is very involved in, and that is Events Mean Business. And in order for us to demonstrate the value of what we do to the general public, to the laymen, we have to make sure that they recognize and appreciate their return on investment and how they can better serve their own private goals or their own corporate goals through events and through trade shows. So the SEER Index, again, Richard talked earlier, this is, the SEER Index is developed through very extensive, somewhat expensive research funded by the industry. It represents a group of people that participate, that provide the information, and in order to qualify to provide the information, you have to be an event with at least 8,000 net square feet, which is not very large, as we all know, and at least 30 exhibitors. I think that's the base qualification. So there has to be, some qualification before they can provide this information, and this information is collected from several different organizations, for-profit and association and government events. So it is extensive, it is comprehensive, and it does provide us a perfect platform to look at where the industry is going and how we can adapt, our messaging to coincide with what we anticipate will be our success. 2014, we're anticipated to grow a little under 2%. Net square feet is going to grow at 2%, and the number of exhibitors growing 1.6%, attendees at 1.7%, all very modest growth. I know in speaking with some of you and some of my friends that are in the business, some of you guys are seeing much better growth than that, and I think that is a result of we're trying to get back to where we were. Everybody took a big hit just when you guys built Z Hall. Perfect timing. Everybody took a big hit in this business in 2007, 2008, because it was, we had glory days. Everything was just rolling right along, and then reality hit. Now we need to get back to where we should be. And I think that is slowly moving and slowly going forward, and we're slowly trying to get back to that threshold that we were at in 2007, 2008. So you can still see we are just under 12% below where we used to be. AMR is, I don't know if everybody's familiar with them, they're a consultancy group out of Europe, and they do a lot of M&A activity. They are really charged with trying to help forecast the global business and the global industry. And they are looking at 8% international. And that's not all, we talk oftentimes about developing countries. That's not all developing countries. The United States is doing okay in trying to get back to our earlier thresholds. So is Germany. And so are other more developed nations like Japan. Then again, China, double-digit growth all the time. And Brazil is doing very well. There are challenges for anybody that's done events over there. There's challenges there. But those countries are performing well as some European groups. And so that 8% is pretty aggressive and pretty attractive for us to review and to look at. SEER is predicting 3%. That's North American growth. It says U.S. It's North American growth through 2017. So here are some numbers, and you can see the red line there being where we are at now, and you can see the trough of where we were and where we want to be and where we want to get back to. It will take time. It'll take hard work on all of our behalf. It will take us also being able to relate back to the general public and to our customers the value of the event. And we need to always keep that in mind. It is critical. It is aggressive growth. It's ambitious, and I consider it very realistic based on where we've been trending. We all know that this business is very scalable if we do it right, if we have the right message, if we have the right customers. So the metrics are trending in the right direction, but again, it's going to be a while before we get back to where we were. We should see that hopefully in a few years, and hopefully we'll surpass where we were. I know that everybody is anxiously waiting to see, what our growth will be over the next 2 to 4 years. So here is overall exhibition industry percentage growth. Again, you can see that dip, that significant dip, and then it's more, modest progress. Also, please keep in mind, this is North America. This does not include the world. So other countries and other regions are seeing better, and some areas are not seeing as good. I know that the Middle East went through a huge development process, and they've built some beautiful, beautiful facilities in Dubai and Doha, and they're having trouble filling them up. They're having trouble utilizing all that space. So I know that's a challenge that we face here in the United States as well. So we'll continue to look at this and see how we trend, and also think about what sectors will improve and what sectors will provide more opportunities. And here you can see some of the sectors that are struggling a little bit are some of the sectors that I've been involved with recently. I think it's also important to realize that these are very general terms, And these are very general industry categorizations. For example, energy is not on here. It falls under raw materials. And energy has recently taken a real punch in the stomach. And the reasons, I think, are clear for macroeconomic reasons with oil prices and some of the difficulties that we're having with distribution. But you can see raw materials are struggling, but they're struggling even more now since this has been produced. But there are some sectors that show really fantastic opportunities. I know that there are some poultry association people in here, and the food industry looks promising. There are other people in here that are representing some of these other categories. So growth is available. It is on the horizon, and it is promising in several sectors. It's just government and education are two that will continue to struggle based on the SEER forecast. Opportunities, activities. I think some of the best opportunities come in unstable environments. And as we recover and as we continue to look at a fragmented market, now's the time to apply whatever experience, whatever smart resources, smart people, smart resources you have to pushing your events forward, pushing your ideas, your philosophies forward, and helping us to recover and helping this industry to bounce back. Events do remain profitable. Our margins are good. We continue to have good cash flow. It is not a dying industry by any means. It is a growing industry. It is an industry that continues to offer very valuable opportunities, not only for us that are in the industry, but to grow the economy, to grow the American dream, really. I mean, people coming face to face is how we need to push doing business and how people will continue to recognize opportunities in these industries. So revenue integrity remains strong. New opportunities in overseas, that's something that I'm working on right now. And I know a lot of you guys are looking at things that might offer potential overseas. There's several organizers in here that take their shows overseas and have seen great success. Some examples of shows that were successful in the United States have even done better overseas. But it is hard. It's risky. It doesn't always turn out. But, no risk, no reward. And then one of the things I'm going to continue to discuss as we move forward in this presentation is experiential marketing. It's no longer 1,000 10 by 10s, come walk across the carpet, see all this pipe and drape, shake this guy's hand, go to a party at night. It's not like that anymore. We have to adapt. We have to make our events better. We have to make them more experiential. We have to recognize the value of our attendees and adapt to what their needs and their requirements are. Some challenges that we're facing. Economic uncertainty will always be a challenge. Yesterday, today, tomorrow, economic uncertainty will always challenge us. Competition. We all have a lot of competition. Some of my best friends in the industry are now my competitors. And, it doesn't mean that we can't cooperate and collaborate on helping us all. What is the saying? A rising tide lifts all ships. And that is the absolute truth. Customer expectations. Absolutely changing. What do people want out of an event? It's content. 2 years ago, content. Everything was content. What content do you have? What's your education like? Content's great. But you can get content online. You can go to Google and get content. They need experiences. You need to produce an experience that they will remember and that they will take away some thoughts and ideas about returning. Regulations, always a challenge. I have technology on here because it's not technology for technology's sake. It's keeping up with, I struggle with that. I'm smart. I'm really smart. I'm really, really smart. But I struggle with keeping up with technology. It is very hard, especially when my 10-year-old son is like, no, Dad, that's not how you do it like this. You change it like this. It's hard, but you got to keep up with it. And then people. You need smart. You need experienced, you need educated, you need to recognize value in the younger generation and train them. So human resources are critical as well. Trends worth watching. I have a bunch of notes on this, so let me get over here. So technology, again, it's going to exponentially changing constantly. Something new comes out. There's new apps. There's new mobile, there's new Wi-Fi opportunities, there's everything. And even things that were basic in our industry, like registration, have fundamentally changed because of technology. And we've got to keep up with it because we've got to apply the benefits that it provides to what we're doing. Experiential marketing, creating experiences on the show floor, recently managing some relatively, not boring shows, but shows that were not, it wasn't CES. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't glamorous. So you've got to put something fun on the show floor, I believe. You have to engage them on the show floor. And you want to rely on your exhibitors, of course, and you expect your exhibitors to also make it a fun and exciting experience for the attendees, but you've really got to push that and you've really got to facilitate that. Big marketing, big data, controlling your data, very hard. Relates back to technology, always very hard. Demographic, segmenting everything, making sure that you've identified your VIP customers and your prospects. It's critical. It's critical. It's a pain, Nobody likes Excel spreadsheets. Nobody likes going through data, cleaning it, managing it, organizing it. Absolutely imperative. It's paramount in your success. So marketers, people that are evaluating our trade shows, they're expecting more. They're analyzing. They have better tools in rating our performance as producers and as members of this industry. They're able, people that are, signing our checks, people that are paying us, are becoming more sophisticated in how they rate us. So we need to adapt to that and make sure that we're accommodating them. The show floor thing, I think this is just so important. Creating customized experience for exhibitors and sponsors. Hey, here's a banner. It costs $5,000. Great. Okay, there's a banner. It costs $5,000. Do something fun. Do something cool. Give them something where they will get a return on that investment, but also people will talk about, their customers will talk about it. It doesn't have to be, I'm still a fan of simple. Simple things are great. Charging, it used to be the, I forget what we used to call them, where you'd go and check the cafe, the cyber cafe. You'd go check your email there. That doesn't exist anymore. Everything's mobile. Everything's a mobile device. Have charging stations. Have something, have coffee. Do something that doesn't have to be fancy, but people remember and that they will come back to and that their customers will remark on. Buyers, segment, identify demographics. Do what you have to do to understand and to adapt to their needs and requirements. Organizers must deliver a qualified audience. We have to, you can't send out 1,000 pieces or 100,000 pieces or 1,000,000 pieces of direct mail and say, hey, come to this trade show. We've got exhibitors. You've got to identify who they are and make sure that you're applying your industry expertise and experience to their needs and their requirements and connecting them with their exhibitors. Long-term value, takeaway value, make sure that the decision makers understand and appreciate that. And these things are not, this is not rocket science. These are all things that are very easily doable. These are things that a lot of you guys are already doing. And I want to make sure that we talk about everything, no matter how hard, no matter how easy, no matter how complex, no matter how simple. It's things that we should all be doing, and all be. If we're not doing it, we should be understanding it and respecting it and have a reason why we're not doing it. And then, so the qualified workforce, that's interesting. That is the aging population. I've got some more to talk about on that when we get to it. But we have to make sure that the next generation, and I think we're doing a better job about this now than we ever have. The next generation is getting the appropriate training, that they have the appropriate education. It doesn't have to be school education. It has to have to be, experiential education, and that they, love this business. Because I know that most of the people that are at my age that started in this business, younger, we love it. We can't imagine doing anything else. We never will do anything else. It's what we do. We need to inspire others in that respect and make sure that they also appreciate and value the opportunities that this business brings. It's evolving. Of course it's evolving. We want it to evolve. We want it to get better. Marketing, the whole mixed media strategy is evolving. Again, this all falls back to technology also. It's I don't know, and I do not mean to offend anybody that is in the print media business here, because it is still a viable business. But it's evolving too, and maybe not as constructively as other industries are. There's a lot of mobile. Again, content is all available online. It's all available very easily at the push of a button. The marketing mix is changing. People aren't, taking 4-color, full-page ads anymore. They're participating in events, but they're also trying to communicate with their customers via other mediums. And there's a lot of competition for that marketing dollar. There is a lot of competition, especially as the sort of big, huge platforms like Yahoo get into the game of revenue generation. We have to be aware of that. We always have to push the value of face-to-face because there is value, and that's how we do beat all other mediums, whether it's print whether it's digital. There's nothing like face-to-face. There's nothing like shaking somebody's hand or looking at their product or seeing things that are developing in real time. The trade show mix, it's interesting. I have some statistics on this as well. 44% of chief marketing officers report that they are producing their own events. So our exhibitors and our attendees are oftentimes our competitors. They're producing their own events. And attendees actually, so attendees that were part of this study, they indicated they go to 3.4 trade shows a year, average 3.4 trade shows a year. However, they also participate in 2.6 private events, meaning if IBM is a customer, they're an exhibitor of yours, and they are a huge opportunity for you. They're one of your best customers. They're also producing their own shows, and they're bringing their customers that are attending your show to their own in-house shows. So they are our customers. They are our competitors. We have to recognize that. We have to work with them. We have to work with them. I think that we can help them succeed by succeeding at our own events. Cost reduction, gosh, ever since 2007, I think it's always been like line item reduction, travel, advertising, reduce. You have to demonstrate what's valuable and what provides the best opportunities. And again, that's not a difficult task. Okay, here's some things that some buyers and some exhibitors have indicated. I think this is also very relevant, in your everyday career and your everyday life. How are we going to attract more and new qualified attendees? So some of the things that people have said about why they're doing or what they're doing and how we can best keep them is face-to-face interaction with customers, critical. Here's something that's very interesting, top-ranked effective tactics. Direct mail, I never would have got that. Direct mail, 87% of people still use direct mail for outreach. And I have to say that if I get a cool piece of mail, I'll look at it. I will still look at it, but I get so much trash that a lot of it just goes, straight into the trash, straight into the circular file. So I don't pay much attention to it. But gosh, I know we all have email fatigue. We're just slammed by it. So it's got to be good email. It's got to be compelling. It's got to be interesting. It's got to be dynamic. My favorite here is exhibitor invites. You've got to get your exhibitors to get engaged. You've got to get them to bring their customers. It's not all our responsibility. Exhibitors have got to become involved in this, and there's ways of doing it, and successful shows have been successful at getting their exhibitors to buy in to their philosophy. Matt, you got to target everything now, and I talked earlier about the demographics of your attendees. You got to avoid the mass marketing. You can't send out a million random, generic flyers. It's got to be targeted. It's got to be appreciated by the audience. And then number one factor in driving decision to exhibit, qualified attendees. And one of the things I made a note on here, I'm probably speaking too long, so let me expedite, is I feel like we, always looking at numbers. And some shows that's great. And again, I talked to some of my colleagues here, and they've got good numbers. Numbers are great. Exhibitors love to hear good numbers. You can charge a high per square foot rate on that, but the fact is that quality is much better than numbers. And you can have a show with 5,000 attendees, or you can have a show with 50,000 attendees, but your exhibitors are not going to be able to see every single attendee. You've got to have good, qualified, targeted attendees. But it doesn't hurt to have 100,000 attendees either, at least when you're selling booth space. So here's some interesting things. So this was on a scale of 1 to 7, and this is what some of the buyers had indicated. Here's what they're coming to look at: new technology, new products. They want to interact with new products. Again, here's our value. Here's the face-to-face value. They want to interact with new products. They want to see new technology. They want to talk with industry experts. They want to ask a question. How does this widget work? Oh, it works like this. You can't do that online. You can't do that in other mediums. You can only do that face-to-face. They want ideas. They want solutions. They want to look at their competitors. And they want to think about what their next steps are going to be in growing their business. So learning, education, content, still of great significance and great importance. Industry insights, networking. I think we underestimate the value of networking. When we talked about cost cutting, that's one of the things that has been really hit. You no longer have the great exhibitor evening like you used to. Some people still do. The Messe of Frankfurt still does. Those exhibitor evenings are great. Those parties are great for networking, for interaction, for understanding and appreciation of who your industry peers are, and for doing business. They want to improve themselves, they want professional development, and they want personal development. Trade shows are excellent for both of those. And then here's a thing on young professionals, which is interesting, how they want to engage people. What I really found interesting is what we do most, and that's the 45-minute lecture and Q&A. Boring, that's what all trade shows do. I think that's changing a little bit. I love the show floor education. I love the workshops. I think that's really interesting. So I'm going to read this. I'll read it quick. We are creating a new kind of reality, a blended reality, one in which physical and digital environments, media, and interactions are woven together throughout our daily lives. Technology enables this transformation, but as always the case, when we invent new technologies, they in turn reinvent us. Blended reality shapes the nature of what we experience and how we make sense of our surroundings. Got to capture technology, got to understand it, you got to roll with it. How are we using technology to engage audiences? Digital technology helps us build on and adapt the principles of traditional marketing to create engagement before, during, and after. Get in front of your audience before the show with digital opportunities. Make sure you've got a mobile app or some kind of resource on site to engage them, and make sure you follow up with it. You can't beat it. You got to join it. You got to participate in it. And I think that at this point, almost everybody in this room is familiar with that process and has adapted that and is including digital communications pre, on, and post show in their marketing mix. Young professionals. So interesting that we are consistently trying to identify, people are people, everybody's different, and even generational differences, it's hard to categorize and put people into buckets, but based on data and based on research, I think there are opportunities for us to look at, a couple of interesting things. I think the most interesting thing about this slide and the biggest topic here is that by 2016, the number of retirees will outpace the number of people coming into the workforce. That's important. We need to recognize that, and we need to adapt to that. That also means that the number of people coming to your trade show are going to be younger and younger, and are going to be, have different ideas and have different views of society and of how they want to experience, how they want to be educated, how they want to network, how they want to be trained. It's all going to change. It's all going to come down to a different paradigm, and we have to be able to adjust to that and to recognize how to take advantage of it. I did want to say a couple things about what IAEE is doing. We have some chapter initiatives with young professionals. I know that the Southeast chapter has done very well with that. There are some strategic exercises that will take place during Expo, and there's the 20 under 30 program, which the chapter is also taking advantage of, which I think is great. Recognizing value and quality of people that are not yet 30, I think is great. It gives them momentum. It gives them some recognition and achievement. So I think it's fantastic. At Expo, there's a meetup pavilion and there's a learning pavilion. There's something called campfire sessions where they're little just quick discussions, and they're very topical and they're very contemporary. Here's something that's very important to me, Exhibitions Day. It takes place this year in DC, June 8th and 9th. And it is really our public policy efforts to encourage our elected officials to recognize our value. We have data for it. We have financial data. We have macroeconomic data. We know our value. We need to translate that into policymakers so that they understand and appreciate how important we are to the economy, the economy, the world economy. We work closely on this initiative with the U.S. Travel Group. They're very influential, obviously, as are we, and we need to apply that. When I say public policy, I think it also needs to come down to the state and local level. I know that you guys are very involved in that locally and with the state, and that's very well received. We should be grateful for that, for all the efforts that this building and that this authority does on our behalf to make sure that our events are successful with the state capitol and with the city government. And then we need to use our influence. I know, your colleagues and people at the ACVB need to use their influence and their powers of persuasion to make sure that our elected officials appreciate our value and are facilitating our events, because it's good for the city, it's good for the state, it's good for the country. And we want to build on our meetings mean business. And the meetings mean business, if you guys don't know what that is, we've done a lot of PR on the industry to CFOs, to people that aren't really engaged. They're not setting up the exhibit, they're not selling on the show floor, but sometimes they do make decisions, and we need to make sure that we're passing along the value of events to these people that may not always see it firsthand. Culture creation. This is a initiative from IAEE. There's a meeting on June 10th in DC, but also during Expo. And some of the things that they're trying to do is talk about case studies, talk about best practices, and develop a better understanding of how we all work together. We need to create within our own workplaces, not industry-wide, within our own workplaces, a culture of trust, innovation, and productivity. Sometimes it's hard for smaller associations or for very hungry for-profit trade show organizers to do this. I will say that my company and other contractors, like Richard's company and other contractors, are very good at this, at creating this type of culture. I don't know why it's harder on the organizers' behalf to do that, because it may be because of deadlines and budgets and everything, but we got to focus on it, we got to work on it. And I do think that probably some of the associations are good at it, because they really are concerned with their industry that they're representing, so they're trying to create a culture of trust and of productivity and of innovation. So at this meeting on June 10th, there's going to be some what's called journey mapping, which is a phrase I had not heard before. But what they're going to do, it's case studies, it's best practices. How do we improve? How do we create a better environment for not only for profitability, but for our people, which is who makes up this business and what this business is all about. And that is it. Thank you. Sorry, I was a little long-winded. Oh, wait, part two. Just kidding. There's no part two. Yes?
Let me ask you, you've been around, you see a lot of international shows.
Yep.
With those. What is done internationally that you see that they do quite well, but it hasn't really taken off in the United States?
Yeah, a couple of quick things come to mind. I know Dirk is in here somewhere, and Ellie, and people that have seen, large, very dynamic, not just the German messes, but also events in Italy. And the Europeans are great. And some of the things that they do that I wish that we could do better is the experience, the design. I've learned that people, because from my friends I've learned this. Oh, I'm going to a trade show. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be in, I'm going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina for 3 days. Oh, wow, boring. I'm going to be at a booth all day. In Europe, they're like, yes, the trade show's coming. I can't wait. I'm going to see my friends. I'm going to see my colleagues. I'm going to make some money. I'm going to eat and drink and have fun. And it's just a different culture of the trade show. And I wish we could apply some of that excitement and some of that dynamic, experiential marketing to our events in the U.S. And it has, pipe and drape and some of that stuff. I don't think that really has everything to do with it, because it's the culture of the people that are coming to. We got to make it more fun. We got to make it a better experience. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, and I think you guys are trying to address this. This lunch was fantastic, and you guys do a great job. But we need to try to make it more pleasant on the show floor. Let's have better food. Let's have better drink. Let's have more fun. Let's have better education. Let's have more experiences on the show floor. And I know you guys are trying to address this, and I think that's fantastic. Those are two things. Where's Dirk? Is Dirk in here? He left. Yeah.
In Europe, the shows I've been to, every booth has booze in it, Daniel. It's a bar.
Did you say what? Has what?
They have booze in it.
Oh, booze. Wait, okay. I was about to say now, hey. Yeah.
But I'm telling you, every show and every booth, it's a party.
I agree.
You have not had a good experience or a good show if you walk out of the convention center sober.
I'm sure the Association of Baptist Preachers, I think that they're here actually, is going to appreciate that. No, but again, I think that's true. I mean, there is truth to that. It is an experience. When you go to a messa or when you go to a Machef in Milan and you walk into this beautiful booth and you sit down at this really high-end furniture and this very attractive man or woman brings you a plate of artesian cheese and you have a sip of Chianti, you're like, yeah, I'm on vacation. Oh yeah, I've got to do some business. I'll write some orders. What do you want? I'll write whatever you want. Yeah, it's an experience. It's experience, and I think it's going to be very hard for us to change that, but we have to try. And I think that producers need to try and affect a better environment for their attendees on the show floor. If it's booze, what have you. I think the Georgia World Congress Center is coming up with a program of free 12-year-old scotch for every 20 by 20 that, sorry. All right, it's being debated. It's being discussed. No, but I think it's the experience, I think, and it's our culture. But I think that we're trying to address it. And some, Light Fair, that's a fun show. That's a cool show. It really is. It's a very cool show. Kitchen and Bath is a cool show. There are shows out there that really have a better experience. They're not as boring as the trade shows that I always used to do. Textiles. Yeah. Any other questions? Come on. Yes.
Going back to one of your first slides about being optimistic that revenue is going to go back up, attendance, square footage, things going back up. Yet now we face more competition with more, I represent the dental profession, and
Right.
there are more dental shows than ever. There's online offerings for education, which is our book, to get on this phone. So we're up against more than we've ever been. How could we, or do you want to talk on how we should continue to be more optimistic when we haven't got more competition?
Yes. Two comments. One's more of a personal observation. Hinman, fantastic event. And this is my personal observation, that the big dogs eat. Even when we were struggling, because I've managed some like second tier or third tier shows, and it never failed. Boy, that first tier show, CES is going to eat, but the Software Association of North Dakota, maybe not. The big guys, the big, well-produced, strong events that have support from attendees and exhibitors, I think they're going to do okay. That's my personal observation, even with competition. Everybody wants to start a show, but it's a lot harder than it appears to be. And as long as these big guys like the Hinmans stay their course, I think it's okay, because you have industry support, and whether it's for profit or an association, people find value in that show, and people find, even though there's digital content, I'm sure that a lot of dentists want to see, how do you stick that drill in that guy's mouth and get it down in there, and people want to see that. I mean, it's hard to watch that online, and camera angle, but the second observation is about my comment that it might be a bit ambitious, these goals, and SEER is very good. They have economists that do very well. But when you're asking a CEO of a for-profit or of an association, how's your business going to do? Check. Great. It's going to do great. That's where that data comes from. Now, they cross-reference it with manufacturing, employment, and other things.
Sylvia, I just downloaded the 15, so I haven't familiarized myself with that. But on the last year when we were looking at the medical sector, where everything else was, kind of hiking up, medical sector was still there because of the competition, education, the change in pharma, the change in all the different guidelines. So, it was probably going to be the hardest to continue to recover at the same pace the rest of the industry is. But, I think most everybody in the medical, when I get out and talk to all the different organizers, are facing the same challenges you are, whether it's dental or optometry or, we do a lot of the nursing shows, and everybody's kind of facing that same thing. It's different competition, education is available everywhere, and it's just, it's very tough. It's very tough.
I was going to say in the construction industry, our clients, construction was down, but what we did as part of our marketing strategy is look at all of the shows out there. Part of it was take market share. So we really were a big start, and now discussion, the national electrical contractor was strong, this, and was only one, and that's what I'm, so all the others that were out there, these things we turn off. When you say take off, what do you mean? Take them over? No, okay, literally though, yeah, we sold them on our, I mean, we made a focus plan, a strategic plan, for one show at a time, and literally, so we're.
You know what Charlie did? I think this is great too. Cooperate. Join them. Bring them into the fold. Make a bigger event. Probably hard for you guys though, because you guys are extremely successful, but you're also regional. Is that right? No. You're not. Okay, sorry.
We're to the general Dennis population, and we're looking at specialty groups,
Okay.
that kind of collaboration or affiliate kind of activities.
I do know it's a very well respected event. I mean, I know that, so I just, yeah, I know, yes. My personal observation is that you guys will be okay. The Macon Society of Orthodontists may be in trouble, but I think you guys will be okay.
And I think it's all relative too, because to your point, you want to be more respected. I was meeting with a client who has a 170,000 net square foot show that said we're dying. I said, well, your dying is probably what a lot of other people might think they do. So I think sometimes it's all relative to right sizing the event to what the market is getting to. And I think that's where some organizers are doing a much better job of adjusting the appetite of spending and their marketing strategies and their 3 to 5 year strategic plans based on how the market is moving. It's the old who moved my cheese theory.
Anyone? Anyone? Thank you very much. It's really great to see everybody again.